Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the book of Second Corinthians. Now, it's been a while since we've been in Second Corinthians, obviously, but if you remember correctly, or if you look back and just kind of look back at today, we're reading chapters 9 and 10. So if you just take a quick look at like chapter 8 and even before that, Paul is talking to the church at Corinth about supporting each other. Okay, and so that's by that support he meant financially, and he was talking about how. The principles of Christian giving. So giving is like sowing a seed. What you get is linked to what you give. The farmer who sows only a little seed is only going to get a little harvest, while the farmer who sows generously is also going to receive a generous harvest. And it's the same idea with Christian giving. Both the thought and the attitude counts. Paul asks the Corinthians to consider carefully what they will give and then to give it cheerfully. God himself is a great giver. He provides in all kinds of ways, in crops and food and spiritual gifts. His greatest and indescribable gift is that of sending his only son to be the savior of the world. The Corinthians are going to discover in their giving that they themselves receive. They will be enabled and encouraged to be generous on many future occasions. There will be a harvest of praise to God when people see his grace in their lives. So I think it's important to note that when we talk about Christian giving, that yes, giving of your physical resources is important. So God has blessed you with the ability to make money. Then what you should do out of a joyful heart, as Paul says here, and just because that's what God calls us to do, we should joyfully and happily give to those in need, whether that be by the poor, the widows, the people that the Bible tells us to take care of, whether that be to the church so that the church can do those things, whether that be to support missionaries that go to other countries around the world to share the news of Jesus. And so there are many ways that we can financially give out of what God has blessed us with, and give those things to help others. And so that is very important. But it's also important to realize that this doesn't just mean financially. When we talk about Christian giving, it talks about giving what we have to offer. And some of us might not have a lot of money to offer, but what we do have to offer is our time. We do have our gifts. We do have the things that God has given us, the things that God has blessed us with. And so if we can use our gifts to bless others, then we should be doing that. That's also part of Christian giving. A part of Christian giving is using what we have, whether that be material or spiritual or physical, whatever it is. Whatever we've been blessed with, Christian giving means that we are willing and able to give to others. And he says here, Paul says that if the church in Corinth is willing to give and give cheerfully, then they will receive and they will be very happy with what they get in return. Even though obviously we shouldn't want to be we shouldn't be giving things just because of what we're going to get in return, obviously, but it is important to realize that you're not just giving for no reason, because let's face it, when we give our money to things, to causes, we work hard for money. We work hard to get the things that we have, and so we want to make sure that we're getting a return. And so not so much that we're getting a return, but just that it's not wasted, right? That there is going to be something good that comes of it. And so that's kind of what Paul is telling the church at Corinth here. He's telling them, look, I know you may not see, because he's talking about giving money to the believers in other cities as well. So that's something that they might not necessarily see what's happening there, but it is going to help those believers, and it's going to help in the missions of that church back then, and it can do the same thing with us in our day today. So Christian giving is a very important thing, something that people don't want to talk about because no one likes talking about money. It's uncomfortable, but I do think that it's really important that we realize, Christian giving is money, but it's also, and I would almost say more importantly, is giving of our gifts and giving of what God has blessed us with, so that we can bless each other and others within the church. And then so in chapter 10, Paul goes and he makes an appeal. So Paul talks to the Corinthians here very personally, not as we, but as I. They say that he is timid when he is with them and only forceful in his letters when he's away. But they misunderstand his gentleness. He will be bold enough when he next sees them if he has to be. the super apostles, that they look good because they're only comparing themselves with one another. They're taking pride in a church which has already been established by Paul. Paul, on the other hand, has no desire to boast in another person's work. For him, the only boast is what God has done for him through Jesus Christ, which he calls boasting in the Lord. Now, we've seen in the Bible a lot about how bad pride is. Okay, so and a sin of pride comes before the fall. Pride comes before destruction, and all throughout the scriptures, we see that pride is not a good thing. And what's happening here is that they have these super apostles, we call them, these people that are leading up these churches that Paul started, that Paul planted, and they're taking pride in how well the churches are doing, and how they're growing, and how people are growing closer to the Lord, and they're proud of that. And really, they're proud of it to a fault, in that they're proud of what they've done and what they've accomplished. But Paul says that he will boast only in the Lord. He will only boast in what God has done for him through Jesus Christ. Paul refuses to compete with these super apostles for the credit of planting the church at Corinth. His vision is already reaching ahead to new regions, to visit Rome and then to take the gospel to Spain. If the work at Corinth expands, it will be because the Christians are supporting Paul's mission to other places. So we can see here with Paul, we can see his heart and see something that's really, really important to us, for us to take from this, because self-approval carries no weight. It carries no legitimacy. It doesn't matter that much. But when you boast in God rather than in yourself, you're going to align yourself with God's kingdom agenda. And when you do, you'll obtain the only approval that matters, the approval of the King. So in the things that we do, we shouldn't do them to make the people around us admire us, or to ooh and ah over us, and to feel some type of way about us. And we shouldn't even do it for ourselves. We shouldn't do it because it makes us feel good. We should do it because it's what we can do for God and to advance God's kingdom. And then we are going to be making him happy and him proud of us. And that is going to come with a reward better than anything this earth has to offer. So that's all today from the book of 2 Corinthians. I'll see you guys back here tomorrow in the book of Exodus.